German Shepherd found at crime scene with a note. What it says will send shivers down your spine. Sirens wailed as red and blue lights illuminated the grisly scene. Detective Lena Novak pushed through the crowd of onlookers, her heart pounding. The body lay crumpled on the pavement, crimson pooling beneath it. But what caught Lena's eye was the German Shepherd standing guard over the victim, its ears pinned back and hackles raised. Detective Novak, an officer called. We found something on the dog's collar. I think you need to see this. Hands shaking slightly, Lena unfolded the bloodstained note. Find Alex Carter. Shadow knows the truth. Reinhardt must fall. A chill ran down her spine. Victor Reinhardt, the untouchable crime lord ruling their city with an iron fist. And now this mysterious message hinting he could be brought down by a dog named Shadow and a man named Alex Carter. Who were they? Alex Carter tossed and turned, haunted by nightmares of barking dogs and smoking guns. With a groan, the former K9 officer hauled himself out of bed and stumbled to the window. He couldn't escape the memories of his final case, couldn't shake the guilt. A sharp knock at the door startled him. Lena Novak stood on his stoop, determination etched on her face. Alex Carter? I'm Detective Novak. There's been an incident involving one of Victor Reinhardt's men. And a dog was found at the scene with a note. A note with your name. Alex stiffened. Detective, I'm not on the force anymore. I can't help you. The dog, his name is Shadow. Does that mean anything to you? Alex's blood turned to ice. Shadow had been his partner before everything went wrong. How was this possible? Start from the beginning, Alex said wearily, pouring 2 mugs of coffee. What did this note say exactly? Lena produced the blood-smeared scrap. As Alex read the cryptic message, dread settled like a stone in his gut. Shadow had been there that fateful night, had seen what truly happened. But Alex had been stripped of his badge before he could dig deeper. Had Shadow somehow found evidence that could crack the case wide open? Mr. Carter, I know your history with the department was complicated, Lena ventured. But this is bigger than any grudge. If there's a chance to take down Reinhardt, I need your help to understand what Shadow is trying to tell us. Alex closed his eyes, steeling himself. He couldn't run from this forever. Okay, Detective. I'll do what I can. 4S Chapter 4. Journalist Mia Santos cursed under her breath, fingers flying across the keyboard. Another story, another dead end. She had been chasing leads on Reinhardt for months, desperate to expose the rot under the city's gleaming surface. But every source vanished, every trail went cold. Until now. An anonymous email blinked in her inbox. Subject, the K9 witness. There's more to last night's murder. Detective Lena Novak and ex-cop Alex Carter are on the right track. Shadow is the key. Don't let this go. It's time for the truth to come out. Mia's journalistic instincts ignited like wildfire. She had to find this detective, and this disgraced officer had to uncover what secrets the brave dog named Shadow held in his paws. For once, it seemed Reinhardt's armor might just have a chink. She grabbed her jacket, mind whirling with questions. The hunt was on. In a shadowy warehouse across town, Victor Reinhardt slammed a meaty fist onto his mahogany desk. They found what at the scene, he snarled into the phone. His lieutenant's reedy voice shook. A dog, sir. A German Shepherd. It had a note on its collar about evidence, about someone named Alex Carter. Reinhardt saw red. He knew that name. That sniveling ex-cop had been sniffing around for too long, asking too many questions. And now it seemed the K9 was carrying some kind of damning message. This could ruin everything. Get me the cleaners, Reinhardt growled. I want Carter erased. I want that mutt muzzled for good. No one threatens my empire and lives. He ended the call with a violent jab, pulse pounding in his temples. Alex Carter and his faithful hound had just signed their own death warrants. Reinhardt would make sure of it. Alex, Lena, and Shadow huddled in a dimly lit basement, poring over old case files and grainy surveillance photos. Mia had managed to track them down, offering her investigative skills and press connections to aid the cause. "Look at this," Mia murmured, pointing to a blurry image. "That's Reinhardt's second-in-command leaving the warehouse just minutes before the attack. And there, in the background, it's Shadow," Alex breathed. "He must have seen the whole thing go down." Shadow whined softly, as if confirming the theory. Alex reached out to scratch the dog's ears, marveling at the bravery in those soulful brown eyes. "But how can Shadow show us what he knows?" Lena asked, frustration lacing her voice. "We need concrete proof to take to the DA." Alex's mind raced. He remembered a small detail from that fateful night, something that hadn't made sense at the time. But if Shadow had been a witness... "The garden," he said slowly. "Behind the warehouse. Shadow kept pulling me toward it, but I didn't listen. What if he was trying to show me something? Evidence that was buried there?" Lena and Mia exchanged a charged glance. It was a wild theory, but right now, it was all they had. They had to return to the scene of the crime. They had to let Shadow lead the way. Rookie Officer Ty Nguyen fiddled nervously with his badge as he stood guard outside the precinct. He had always dreamed of being a hero, of making a real difference in the community he loved. But Reinhardt's shadow stretched long and dark over the city, and Ty often felt more like a cog in a broken machine. A flicker of movement in the alley made him tense. Ty stepped forward, hand on his holster, only to find himself face to face with a panting German shepherd. There was something intelligent, almost urgent, in the dog's eyes. "Hey there, buddy," Ty said softly, crouching down. "Where did you come from?" Then he saw it. A blood-smeared note, tucked under the dog's collar. With trembling fingers, Ty unfolded it, scanning the desperate message scrawled within. "Officer Nguyen, if you want to be a true hero, if you want to help save this city, then you need to find us. Detective Lena Novak and Alex Carter. We're going back to where it all began. Back to the scene of Victor Reinhardt's crime. Shadow will show us the truth. It's up to you to keep us safe. Because if Reinhardt finds us first, we're all dead." Ty's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. This was his chance to make a real difference, to be the officer he had always hoped to become. He gave Shadow a determined nod. "Lead the way, boy. I've got your back." And together, they raced into the gathering dark, ready to join the fight for their city's soul. The warehouse loomed like a sleeping beast, its shattered windows gaping like hungry jaws. Alex, Lena, Mia, and Ty crept through the shadows, pulses pounding in sync. Shadow forged ahead, nose to the ground, hackles bristling with urgency. "The garden," Alex whispered, pointing to a tangled patch of weeds and debris. "That's where he's headed." They followed the dog's lead, picking their way through the underbrush. Ty kept watch, hand tight on his weapon, eyes scanning for any sign of Reinhardt's goons. Suddenly, Shadow stopped, pawing frantically at the earth. Alex dropped to his knees, digging with bare hands, unearthing something small and metallic. A USB drive, caked in dirt but miraculously intact. "This is it," Mia breathed. "This has to be the evidence we need. Shadow, you brilliant, brave boy." But a click of guns shattered the moment. Victor Reinhardt emerged from the depths of the warehouse, flanked by a dozen stone-faced mercenaries. Well, he sneered. "Isn't this touching?" The disgraced cop, the wannabe detective, the nosy reporter, and the rookie. All so eager to play the hero. And of course, the mangy mutt, always sticking his snout where it doesn't belong. Reinhardt leveled his gun at Alex's chest. "Hand over the drive, Carter. Or I'll put you and your friends down like the dogs you are." They stood frozen, caught between the barrel of Reinhardt's gun and the unyielding concrete. Alex's mind whirled, desperate for a plan, an escape, a miracle. But it was Shadow who moved first. With a snarl of pure fury, the German shepherd launched himself at Reinhardt, teeth bared, eyes blazing. The crime lord screamed as Shadow's jaws clamped onto his arm, the gun clattering to the ground. "Shoot them!" Reinhardt howled, struggling to shake off the enraged dog. "Shoot them all!" Chaos erupted. Ty and Lena drew their weapons, bullets flying, taking down Reinhardt's men one by one. Mia dove for cover, clutching the precious USB drive to her chest. And Alex surged forward, tackling Reinhardt to the ground, fists flying, pent-up rage and grief fueling every blow. "It's over, Reinhardt," he roared. "The truth is coming out, and you can't stop it." "Not anymore." Shadow stood guard, fangs bared, daring anyone to come near his human. And in that moment, Alex felt a flicker of hope, raw and fierce and unbreakable. They could do this. They could end Reinhardt's reign of terror, once and for all. They just had to hold on a little longer. The dust settled slowly, revealing a tableau of battered bodies and shattered lives. Reinhardt lay unconscious, his face a ruined mess, wrists bound behind his back. His remaining goons had fled into the night, unwilling to face justice. Alex knelt beside Shadow, burying his face in the dog's thick fur, shoulders shaking with relief and exhaustion. "You did it, boy," he whispered. "You never gave up on me, on the truth. You're the real hero here." Lena and Ty secured the scene, calling for backup, for medics, for the weight of the law to come crashing down on Reinhardt's empire at last. Mia clutched the USB drive like a talisman, eyes bright with the promise of a story that would shake the city to its core. But even as the sirens wailed and the cavalry arrived, Alex knew their fight was far from over. Reinhardt had powerful friends, a web of corruption that ran deep and wide. Taking him down was just the beginning. They would need more than a brave dog and a few determined souls to truly set things right. They would need the whole community to rise up, to demand change, to believe in the power of the truth. It was a daunting task, but looking around at his unlikely allies, the rookie cop, the tenacious journalist, the driven detective, and of course, his faithful Shadow, Alex felt a flicker of hope. Together, maybe they could be the spark that lit the way. Maybe they could remind their city what it meant to stand united against the darkness. And maybe, just maybe, they could make Shadow's courage count for something more. In the days that followed, the city reeled from the revelations unleashed by Shadow's discovery and Mia's tireless reporting. The USB drive held a trove of damning evidence, names, dates, locations, all pointing to the rot at the heart of Reinhardt's criminal network. Corrupt politicians tumbled from their thrones. Crooked cops turned themselves in, desperate to cut deals. And ordinary citizens took to the streets, marching for justice, for accountability, for a new beginning. Alex and Shadow watched it all unfold with weary pride, knowing they had played their part in this great unraveling. But even as the world changed around them, they knew their own wounds would take time to heal. Lena saw it in the shadows behind Alex's eyes, heard it in the whimpers that escaped Shadow in the dead of night. They had stared into the abyss, had come back battered but unbroken, and now they needed more than just a cause to fight for. They needed a community to come home to. Slowly, tentatively, that community began to take shape. Ty organized a fundraiser for the families of Reinhardt's victims, pouring his rookie's enthusiasm into making a real difference. Mia used her platform to amplify the voices of those who had suffered in silence, giving them a chance to tell their stories at last. And Lena reached out to Alex, offering not just a partnership, but a friendship. A reminder that he wasn't alone, that he still had something to contribute and something to live for. Together, they began to rebuild. One case at a time, one connection at a time. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't perfect, but it was a start. A start that wouldn't have been possible without a brave dog named Shadow, and the message he carried in the darkest of times. That hope could be found in the most unlikely places, and that even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome, as long as they faced them together. Months passed, and the city slowly began to heal. The scars left by Reinhardt's reign were deep, but not insurmountable, and everywhere Alex looked, he saw signs of resilience, of renewal. It was there in community gardens that sprang up in once neglected lots, tended by the hands of neighbors who had finally found a reason to come together. It was there in the laughter of children playing in the streets, no longer afraid of the shadows that had haunted their young lives. And it was there in the quiet moments he shared with Shadow and his newfound friends, moments of laughter and tears, of shared struggles and hard-won triumphs. Lena taught him how to trust again, how to open his heart to the possibility of a future beyond his past mistakes. Ty showed him the power of optimism, of believing in the good in people even when the world gave you every reason to doubt. And Mia reminded him of the importance of the truth, of shining a light into the darkest corners and refusing to back down, no matter the cost. Together, they formed a sort of families bound not by blood, but by something deeper. A shared commitment to making things right, to being the change they wanted to see in the world. And at the center of it all was Shadow, the loyal companion who had never given up, even when all seemed lost. The silent guardian who had carried the weight of the truth on his furry shoulders until the rest of the world was ready to bear it. Looking into those soulful brown eyes, Alex saw a reflection of his own journeys, the pain and the loss, but also the hope and the healing. And he knew that as long as they had each other, as long as they kept fighting for what was right, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. No darkness they couldn't face. No truth they couldn't bring to light. And so, life went on. The city rebuilt, brick by brick, heart by heart. Reinhardt's trial loomed, a final reckoning for the man who had caused so much pain, but even that couldn't shake the newfound sense of unity that had taken root. Alex and Shadow became a symbol of that unity, a reminder of what could be achieved when people stood together against injustice. They visited schools and community centers, sharing their story, inspiring others to find the courage within themselves. Lena rose through the ranks of the department, determined to build a police force that truly served and protected. Ty followed in her footsteps, his idealism tempered by wisdom and compassion. And Mia kept writing, kept digging, kept holding the powerful accountable. She knew the fight was far from over, that there would always be those who sought to abuse their power, to prey on the vulnerable. But she also knew she wasn't alone anymore. That she had a team, a family, a city full of people who were ready to stand with her, to speak truth to power, to demand change. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still challenges to face, wounds to heal, battles to be fought. But it was a beginning, the promise of something better, something brighter. And as Alex looked out over his city, his home, he felt a sense of pride, of purpose, of belonging. He knew that he had played a part in this great awakening, that he and Shadow had set something in motion that could never be undone. Years passed, and the city continued to thrive. The once troubled streets now buzzed with life and laughter, with the sort of vitality that could only be born from adversity. Alex and Shadow became fixtures in the community, their names spoken with reverence and affection. They were the heroes who had started it all, who had shown that even the darkest of nights could give way to a brighter dawn. And yet, for all the accolades and attention, Alex knew that the true reward was something far simpler. It was in the wagging of Shadow's tail as they walked their old beat, now filled with smiling faces and friendly waves. It was in the knowledge that he had made a difference, that he had helped to create a world where justice and kindness could flourish. As he sat on a bench in the park, Shadow's head resting in his lap, Alex felt a sense of peace wash over him. The ghosts of his past would never truly fade, but they no longer haunted him like they once did. He had found a way to honor their memory, to make their sacrifice mean something. And he knew he couldn't have done it without the people who now stood by his side. Lena, his partner and confidant. Ty, the young officer who had become like a brother to him. Mia, the intrepid reporter who never stopped seeking the truth. They were more than just friends, they were a testament to the power of unity, of the incredible things that could be achieved when people worked together towards a common goal. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the city he loved, Alex felt a nudge at his hand. He looked down to see Shadow gazing up at him, those brown eyes filled with the same unwavering loyalty and courage that had saved them all. "We did good, boy," Alex murmured, scratching the dog's ears. "We did real good." And as the last light faded from the sky, Alex knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter how dark the night might seem, he and Shadow would face them together. As the years continued to pass, Alex and Shadow's legacy only grew. Their story spread far beyond the borders of their city, inspiring people across the nation, and even the world, to stand up against injustice and corruption. Alex found himself in high demand as a speaker and consultant, sharing the hard-won lessons of his experience with police departments and community organizations alike. He spoke of the importance of trust, of accountability, of the unbreakable bond between a handler and their K9 partner. And always, Shadow was by his side, a living symbol of the courage and resilience that had changed everything. Even as Alex's hair grayed and Shadow's muzzle whitened with age, their commitment to each other and to their cause never wavered. They had been through too much together, had overcome too many odds, to ever consider giving up. And so they kept going, kept pushing, kept believing in the power of the truth to set them free. Until one day, as they rested together in the warm sun of the park, Shadow's breath grew shallow and labored. Alex knew, with a heavy heart, that their journey was nearing its end. He held his faithful friend close, whispering words of love and gratitude into the dog's soft fur. For everything Shadow had given him, the loyalty, the courage, the unwavering belief in the goodness of the world, Alex could only offer his presence, his comfort, in these final moments. And as Shadow slipped away, his tail giving one last feeble wag, Alex knew that he would carry this loss with him for the rest of his days. But he also knew that Shadow's spirit would live on, in the strength of their community, in the unbreakable bonds of the people he had brought together. In the enduring power of hope, even in the face of the darkest despair. The funeral was a somber affair, attended by hundreds, cops and civilians, young and old, all united in their grief and their gratitude for the brave dog who had changed their lives. Alex stood at the podium, his voice thick with emotion as he delivered Shadow's eulogy. He spoke of their early days together, of the challenges they had faced and the triumphs they had shared. He spoke of Shadow's unwavering loyalty, of his fierce intelligence, of the way he had always seemed to understand the things that mattered most. But most of all, he spoke of Shadow's legacy, of the way one dog's courage had sparked a movement and had brought a city back from the brink of despair. Shadow taught me that heroism isn't about grand gestures or superhuman feats, Alex said, his gaze sweeping across the sea of faces. It's about the quiet, everyday acts of bravery and compassion. It's about never giving up on the people and the things we love. As he stepped down from the stage, Alex was enveloped by a wave of embraces, Lena and Ty, Mia and the countless others whose lives Shadow had touched. They clung to each other, drawing strength from their shared bond, from the knowledge that they would always carry a piece of Shadow's spirit with them. And as they walked out into the bright sunlight, Alex felt a sense of peace settle over him. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, that there would be new challenges to face, new battles to fight. But he also knew that he wouldn't have to face them alone. That he had a family, a community, a city full of people who were ready to stand with him, to keep Shadow's legacy alive. Together, they would keep marching forward. Keep seeking justice, keep speaking truth to power. Keep believing in the promise of a better tomorrow. For Shadow. For each other. For the world they knew was possible, if only they had the courage to fight for it. As Alex looked up at the clear blue sky, he could almost feel the warmth of Shadow's presence by his side. "Rest easy, old friend," he whispered. "We'll take it from here." And with that, he turned to face the future, a future made brighter by the enduring love of a remarkable dog and the unbreakable spirit of the people he had inspired. The world would never be the same. And that, Alex knew, was Shadow's greatest gift of all.